All right, hello everybody. We are broadcasting. We're just about a minute early. Oh, I see some people are already coming in. That's great. So we're broadcasting now. It's wonderful that people are already starting to come in. You guys are all early birds. That's wonderful. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say hello. My name is Dr. Healy. I will be presenting the webinar today. I also have Dr. Sorrells, Dr. Beverly here on the webinar, and I'm going to introduce her in just a second. And what she's going to do is take a second to go ahead and introduce some of the chat features of Zoom. In case some of you are new to Zoom, we like a really interactive webinar. What we want to do is make sure that we get everybody's questions answered. I know that all of you out there are very unique, you're very different, and you all have specific reasons for wanting to attend today. So we're going to give each and every one of you an opportunity to voice your questions, and we're going to respond to them directly, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Well, before I do that, let me introduce Dr. Beverly. So Dr. Beverly, she's one of the 4 doctors here at Root Healing Wellness. She's a doctor of Oriental medicine. She's an acupuncture physician. She's a tremendous doctor and a close personal friend. She's also a wonderful athlete. I always like to brag about her athletic acumen. She likes to do what's called dragon boat racing, and she's quite accomplished at it. So she's got definite guns. You know, I got normal guns. She's got real guns. So I don't put my guns up next to her. No. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And what's going to happen is Dr. Beverly is going to introduce the chat feature a little bit about Zoom before we go ahead and start. It's good to see so many people on the Zoom already. That's great. 1 second. All right, Dr. Beverly, tell us how to work with Zoom.
All right. Hello, everybody. If you look on the screen, you'll see how to use the chat feature. You'll see that little chat icon. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see that same chat icon at the bottom of your screen. That's the best way to talk to us. If you click on to raise the hand, we might not see. We're unable to unmute everybody who wants to talk. So any questions, comments, we want to hear from you. Put it in the chat. In fact, let's go ahead and practice that now. Go ahead in the chat box and feel free just to type in, you know, what's the one thing you're dealing with your health? What do you want to learn? Why are you here on this webinar with us? And we're going to do our best to answer your questions as we go along. And Dr. Jean's going to share a lot of very cool stuff with you. He is also a licensed acupuncture physician. He's actually practiced Chinese medicine in 8 countries to date, is an Uber Zen master. He has a nice meditative thing on Wednesdays going on that we'd be happy to give you information on, a meditative Zoom experience, and yeah, just yeah, overall very wise and compassionate person. And so I see we already got some comments here on the chat. We got also one person having a hard time dealing with an elderly husband, another person, many conditions, diabetes, hypothyroidism, essential tremor, Sjögren's. I know I'm just not saying that correctly. I know what it is.
To take a second to just make sure you write down the conditions, because I want to make sure everybody, it's so great that all of you are already starting the chat. You know that you have specific questions you want answered, and I'm going to answer every one. I guarantee you that. So what's going to happen is Dr. Beverly's going to make a little note, because the chat feature will start to get really long. Some of your questions are going to be answered during the presentation, like thyroid. We have a lot of information about that. Sjögren's, not specifically, but I can talk to that very easily. It is an autoimmune disease. Diabetes, we'll talk a little bit about that. Elderly husband, we need a little bit more information what's bothering him. So please feel free to type in what's going on, and Dr. Beverly's going to write them all down. And as we go through the body, some of them will get answered, and then others, Dr. Beverly's going to interrupt me from time to time to make sure that I get to everybody's questions, because I definitely want to do that for all of you today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the body of the presentation today. And some of those questions will get answered. So I'm Dr. Healy, and our purpose is to transform your health. We want to help you reclaim your energy, fitness levels, and live without brain fog. How does that sound? How nice would it be to have your brain turned back on and that spark in your life again? So what our goals are for today is we want to talk about the real truth about the health crisis in America. We want to learn non-drug breakthroughs that help resolve thyroid issues. Resolution, isn't that a word you'd love to hear used more? Unlock the secret solution to autoimmunity and thyroid conditions. We want to understand the 3 fat-storing hormones that lead to weight gain. Find out why you have brain fog, what to do about it, and how to take action on your health today instead of just wishing and waiting for things to change. So we got a nice agenda of stuff for everybody to learn from today. So can you relate to this? Are you always feeling fatigued and in a brain fog? Are you frustrated that no one is concerned about your thyroid health? Are you worried that your thyroid medications are always being changed? Do you feel like you've tried everything and don't want another Band-Aid? I love this word because it really seems to capture how we feel about our healthcare system these days. It's a Band-Aid process working on symptoms, but never working on, or very rarely working on, resolutions of health conditions. What we want to talk about today is how to resolve your problems, how to get rid of them, and reclaim your health independence. And I think that's very exciting for all of us. 76% of visits to the doctor end in a prescription. This is in 2018, 76%. That's 3/4. Isn't that amazing? So are you tired of this experience where you go to the doctor, 5-minute talk, type it into the computer, list of drugs come out, you get the first one, you have side effects, then you get the next one, and that seems to be what the whole process has become. So America, we are only 5% of the world's population, but we take 50% of the world's medications. That's right, half of all the medications the whole world takes, we take right here in America. Is it possible that maybe we're overprescribing? Do you feel like that? How about questions about food? Farming before and after Monsanto. Monsanto is a big agribusiness company that deals a lot with chemical sprays like Roundup. So Roundup has been banned in most countries of Europe, but it's still very legal here in America and other countries in Asia. And yes, it is possible that some of the foods are bothering you. Have you ever had someone take the time actually to test you to see if you're eating foods that are bothering you? We all know food is medicine, but what we're not getting is we're not getting any guidance regarding that. How about this? The doctor says the good news, your labs look great. Everything is normal. You are the picture of health. Really, is that the case? Look at this lady here. She's got all these rashes all over her body. When it says labs look normal, I say they're not looking deep enough. How about very simply, you see this particular lady on her on the doctor's bed, and she's got all of these splotches, these rash going on. So is it possible that she's having inflammation if there's a rash? Dr. Beverly, if there's a rash, are you thinking that there's inflammation?
Oh, yes.
100%, right? But the doctor says her labs are normal. Does that mean that the doctor's looking or not looking for inflammation, Dr. Beverly?
Most of the time they're not looking.
Not looking at all. And if they are, they're looking very, very surface level. They're not really taking the time or the effort to look at multiple inflammatory markers. So when your labs are normal, but you're feeling wrong, like something's wrong, it's just because no one's looking deep enough. So what about our medical system? We have our first thought is, what medical condition do you have? Second thought, what drugs do you need? Immediately we jump to a prescription drug. Pharmaceutical companies spend billions per year to make you think that way. Many pharmaceutical companies spend 2 to 1, twice as much on advertising as they do research and development. They're always complaining. They say, oh, it's so expensive to bring this drug to market. That's true, it is expensive. But they spend 2 to 1 on the advertising portion to actually get these drugs direct to consumer sales right on TV, right? Thyroid, diabetes, hormone imbalances equal prescription drugs for life. So we've already had multiple patients ask us about thyroid, diabetes, and hormones. So we're going to start to go over that. You're going to get some information about that during the webinar. And if your specific questions weren't answered, please type them in, because I'm going to promise you I'll answer all your specific questions. America's health habits. Are we proactive or reactive? I like to ask all of my audiences, I just ask them, do you think America's proactive or reactive? And invariably, they all say reactive. We wait till a problem becomes a real train wreck before we decide to do something about it. But I want to congratulate everybody out there today because everyone out there, I know you're proactive. How do I know that? You are taking the time out of your day right now to come and sit and listen to this webinar, to learn some critical information that can really change your life, because you're starting to realize that what you are at is a crossroads moment, and we're going to talk about that later. So me and our practice, what we are known for is we're well known for helping people just like you correct thyroid imbalances, hormones, reverse autoimmunity without drugs or unnecessary surgery. Okay, how nice would it be to avoid surgeries, get off these medications, and even talk about that, because that conversation is not something that you're having right now. It's always a conversation about more medication. Our team does this through regenerative, functional, and traditional Chinese medicine. Let me tell you a little bit about those. So regenerative medicine is more popularly known as stem cell therapy. That's really not the focus of our particular webinar today, but we do it here at Root Healing Wellness. Functional medicine, we're going to talk a lot about that today. Functional medicine is the use of deep investigative labs that are looking at root causes, coupled with a nutritional approach, targeted supplementation, detoxes, unique treatments like things like Chinese herbs, and also coaching to give you accountability to help you reclaim your health independence. Traditional Chinese medicine, most people think of that as acupuncture, but they also have things like Chinese herbal therapy and many other modalities that people just don't associate with what we do. We call it collaborative medicine. I want to emphasize this for a second. Do you want a better team? Do you want other people that are really looking thoroughly into your case and help building you the support structure that you need to really become your best you, not just physically, but also everything else that you want to accomplish in life? We think that collaboration and relationships are the secret sauce of us achieving our true potential in health and every other aspect of life. Oh, this is me, by the way. So I'm showing you a quick picture because I'm just talking a little bit about myself so you get to know me before I go through my presentation. So I'm just going to tell you a quick story. This is actually me in Cambodia. You can see I'm doing acupuncture to this Cambodian gentleman. I had a translator. I didn't speak Khmer at the time, and I still don't actually. I'm going to take it off the screen share just so you can see my face a little bit bigger while I introduce myself. So I want to tell you just a little bit about me, and I want to ask you if it's okay to just tell two quick stories. I'm going to tell a quick one now, and I'm going to tell one later on. And I'm only telling these stories because they're very instructive. I think that they're going to shine a light and help you understand how we can help you. So I'm Dr. Healy, and as Dr. Beverly said, I've done medicine at this point in 8 countries across the world. I've probably treated 60,000 patients. But the reason why I became a doctor is a little bit more interesting for myself and for patients. Just like yourself, I was really, really tired of this Band-Aid approach. I just saw what was going on. People were being addressed for just their symptoms, and nobody was talking about the underlying causes. So what I vowed to do, and what I was interested in, is I wanted to do what was called true healing. Healing not just myself, but other people, not just the body, but also the heart, the mind, the spirit. I wanted to look at the whole human being. That's what the word holistic means. It means looking at the whole human being. So I spent a lot of time studying and traveling. I lived in Asia about 19 years of my life, and I learned many wonderful things. But there's no country that knows more than any other country specifically that I would say, oh, we got to go there for medicine. But there are wonderful things that are done in kind of traditional medicines and wonderful modern things that are done, for example, in functional medicine today. And we're merging the two. It's really amazing. But I want to tell you one quick story. When I was in South Korea, what I was doing is I wasn't only just studying medicine. I was also studying many things like meditation, yoga, martial arts. I was living in temples and spending a lot of time cultivating inner things also. And I did have it as a mission in my life for about like 20 years. I thought about becoming a monk, about shaving my head and literally living in the mountains. So I thought about that, and it was always a question that kind of plagued me. But about probably like 10 years ago, I came to a very, very clear, very, very strong realization, my last meditation retreat in South Korea. What I realized is that I was not trying to become a monk for the right reasons. I didn't want to become a monk because I love the lifestyle, I love the haircut, or I love the clothes. I was trying to become a monk because I thought that I could run away from suffering. Dr. Beverly, have you found a way to run away from suffering? Can you give me a hint on how to do that?
I would. I'd be a millionaire.
That's right, right?
Mhm.
So we all know at this point, we should know that there is no way to run away from suffering, but sometimes it has to be made very clear to us. What I realized, my first realization is that we have to face our problems and we have to be really realistic about them. And then the second realization that I had was what I needed is what everybody else needs. I need a proper team. I need the right people in my life that can help me excel and become my best, not just physically, but also professionally. So we assembled this wonderful team of doctors. We have 4 here at Root Healing Wellness. Dr. Beverly is one of our wonderful doctors. And what we're talking to you about is that. Do you actually have somebody talking to you about your problems realistically, really telling you what's going on, looking at causes? Most of the time, no. And I can see when we talk about, for example, like hypothyroidism and these other questions that are already being asked, I'm going to address all those. And also, do you have the right team? And I'm going to say to that to you also, your answer is no, because if you did, you wouldn't be having these problems that we're already talking about. Okay? So I'm going to go back to the screen share and make sure I get to all your questions. So today, you're going to learn to listen to your body, identify the root causes of your health problems. With this, you're going to feel empowered, able to take care of yourself, show up for your family, and take your life off hold again. The best part is you don't have to be a hardcore vegan, paleo, or keto dieter. You don't have to beg to get the correct testing or to get time with the medical team for you to succeed. You don't have to worry about not having a program in place or a lack of systems to help you reach your goals. You don't have to wait for months to have better energy, increase well-being, happiness, or confidence. I want to talk specifically, we're going to mention a couple of testimonials during the process, and we'll talk about Peter. So some of this is going to shine some light. Peter specifically is about thyroid issues, and I know we've had some thyroid problems already talked about. So Peter, he was suffering from hyperthyroidism, and he had a nodule on his thyroid. He also had Graves' disease. He had autoimmune thyroid issues. That means his body was attacking his thyroid. So I see, you raised your hand. See, I'm so sorry. Could you type in your question? Because when you raise your hand, we have to unmute you so you can talk. And there's too many people on this webinar. It'll be chaos. So if you don't mind, please just type in your question. I will get to all of them. I promise you. As soon as I finish talking about Peter's, I'm going to go to some specific thyroid questions as we go through the body. Okay. So what happened with Peter was, he also had unrelenting back pain. He had a disc injury. And nobody took the time to find a solution for Peter. So what happened was we had a transition. There was no silver bullet. We had to really dig in and find out what was going on. And he had 3 steps that recovered and helped him heal. He had the correct testing. We checked for all his thyroid antibodies. We checked for inflammation. We checked for everything that was necessary. We administered the right functional medicine and Chinese herbal therapy for his thyroid, acupuncture for his pain, and the right mentoring and guidance that was based on the correct tests. And what happened with that was he had the commitment and the resolve to continue and improve. And and ever since then, he's been doing great. Ooh, I'm trying to move my thing over. There we go. So the discovery was that there was no silver bullet, but after the initial testing came back, we had the right treatment and the right treatment was administered. So the real issue with a lot of patients out there is you're not properly tested. We're going to talk a lot about that. You don't really know what's going on with you. Let's see if we can agree on one thing already. Would you say, all of you out there, including you, Dr. Beverly, would you say that inflammation is one of the root causes of many kinds of disease?
Yeah, probably the most of them. Mm-hmm.
All right. Most diseases, inflammation is a component. We've already mentioned that a couple times now, but is anybody out there getting their inflammatory markers checked? That is amazing. So we all know that there's an issue, but you're actually not getting fundamental issues checked. How about this? How about good gut bacteria? Would you say, Dr. Beverly, that having good gut bacteria is important for your digestive and hormonal and your immune health?
Oh, yes.
You would, I would, all MDs would, by the way. But who among you out there are getting tested for good gut bacteria? The answer is probably none of you. So something so fundamental that we think is so important, but nobody's actually taken the time to look. So the transformation came when he came to see us. We helped him with his disc injury, his hypothyroidism, and his nodule actually shrunk and it's gone. We got to shrink with Chinese herbs. His pain was an 8 out of 10. Now he's a 0. His nodules are gone. All his labs are normal, which means that his antibodies, those things that are designating that he has Graves' disease, that his body's attacking itself, those antibodies went away, and we could prove it conclusively. So what would be different for you if you were able to look and feel your best? Do you mind if I show you exactly how we can help you achieve your health again? So let's talk a little bit about lab values. So oftentimes what happens is you go in and your doctor says you're in the zone, so you're fine, okay? So let's look at this. The functional range, the healthy range is in the middle. If you're high, if you're close to off, then you're still sick. If you're low, if you're close to off, then you're still sick. One patient mentioned diabetes. Let's quickly talk about that. So the lab normal for your fasting blood sugar, your glucose is 125, okay? You hit 126, lifelong medication. So what happens when you're over 100? Doctors start to say, well, you're maybe getting close to pre-diabetes. We're watching you. And what do they do when they watch you? They're literally doing nothing. So nothing, nothing, nothing. What happens when you're at 125? It's only 1 point from 126. Doesn't it sound like something needs to be done right there? But they don't. And then what happens is 126 and lifelong medications, right? I'm going to tell a wonderful story about diabetes later. It's one of the examples I like to talk about when I talk about how unsuccessful the current standard of care is with reversing disease. The thyroid connection. Thyroid, oh, please.
I was going to say, yeah, we have quite a few things on the thyroid. So when you're ready, I'd like to mention them to you so you can address them.
Okay, so we got a couple more thyroid slides, and then what I want to do is some of those answers are going to be done. And then the answers that I haven't addressed, please ask them to me. Thank you, Dr. Beverly, for stopping me. Mm-hmm. The thyroid is involved in bone metabolism, and it's involved in the immune system, brain, nervous system, GI function, liver, gallbladder, growth, sex hormones, fat burning, insulin, glucose metabolism, and healthy cholesterol levels. Yes, this is funny. Some people very thin, don't even eat a lot of fats, but your cholesterol is very high. Why is that? Sometimes it's not the fats. It could be thyroid. It could be hormone levels. It could be inflammation. It could be blood sugar levels that are driving the cholesterol, and cholesterol meds are not what you need. Here's a little bit of science, but I want to show you something because this is important. You don't have to memorize all this, but you have to just understand a couple simple points. The thyroid here, what happens is it promotes hormones, and then we have 60% of T4 converted to T3 here in the liver, okay? That means the liver is involved in thyroid hormone conversion. Then you get 20% converted in peripheral tissues. You get 23% in inactive T3, 20% goes to the gut, and it's converted in the gut, okay? So already we know that the thyroid is dependent on liver function, the gut function, but also it's also dependent on the hormonal and adrenal strength to support it. So some people have thyroid issues, and the problem is not even their thyroid. It could be their gut converting it with the T3. It could be their liver converting it with the T4. It could be that you have antibodies, something like a leaky gut process that we'll talk about later where the body's attacking itself, or it could be that your hormones or your adrenal function is off. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of those questions you had, Dr. Beverly. Please ask me. I'm going to get to everybody's questions.
Okay, so first one. Person was talking about hypothyroidism and pain. If it can cause pain.
Hypothyroidism and pain could be related because sometimes people have conditions like, for example, fibromyalgia. So thyroid's involved in every cell in the body, and hormones affect everything. So can there be increased inflammation that could bother a process like the thyroid? The answer is yes. Could both of those together create increased pain in the body or increased pain receptivity? The answer is yes. Could, for example, the thyroid and inflammation affect brain function, and therefore you have a heightened sense of pain? The answer is also yes. So that being the case, if you're just being given pain medications, that doesn't do anything for the thyroid. It doesn't reduce inflammation. So all we're doing is becoming dependent on a pain medication and not addressing the cause. So what you need to do is to be tested for the right test so we know what exactly the cause is. So like Peter that I mentioned before, what we're going to talk to everybody about here later is the ability for all of you to qualify for what we call a consultation. So we'll be offering free consultations for people as long as they sign up for one during the webinar today. Normally there's a charge, but because we're doing a webinar, what we're doing is offering free consultations for those patients that just sign up for one by the end of the webinar. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but you'll have somebody like Gabriella, one of our wonderful staff here, reaching out to you probably soon to just introduce herself, and we'll start to talk about the consultation process later. But what else do we have, Dr. Beverly?
Okay, we have working on the thyroid, people mentioning anxiety, depression, feeling overwhelmed, feeling down, lost memory.
Okay, all of that we have slides specifically for that,
Oh,
so we're going to bring
true,
that up
true,
soon.
sorry.
Great.
Also, weight gain, especially after 50, and belly fat, and something about electric heat disease.
Okay, electric heat disease, I need a little bit more information about. So the person that talked about electric heat disease, can you just kind of type your symptoms up so I can kind of just understand what that means? When we talk about weight gain and all of the reasons why it's harder after age 50, we're going to talk about that. But weight gain is not just what you eat and how much you move. Everybody likes to say all you need to do is eat less and move more, but that's not true. You could eat nothing but carrots and breathe air. If your hormones, your thyroid, your adrenal function, your gut function is off, you will not lose the weight. So all of those things are involved. Also inflammation, which is what we were talking about on this particular slide.
And then we have a person dealing with enlarged thyroid, another with a recent thyroidectomy.
Okay, so a thyroidectomy means something was growing on your thyroid. They thought it was dangerous, might be cancer, and they took it out, right? Now you have to take thyroid hormone. But when you were having something growing on your thyroid, there could have been a problem that nobody was discovering. Are you even sure if you're autoimmune? Autoimmune means the body's attacking itself. So even if they pulled out your thyroid, the autoimmune process is still going on. And the real danger there, because we already had somebody talking about Sjogren's, is when you have one autoimmune disease, you have an 80% likelihood to get multiple. So the patient that was talking about Sjogren's is a connective tissue disorder. What happens is you start to get a thickening, and it can be life-threatening. You can start to have a thickening in the lungs, and what happens is it becomes very difficult to breathe. So Sjogren's disease is very serious, and you did not wake up one day with Sjogren's. You had something else going on that nobody was paying attention to. Oftentimes with Sjogren's patients, tremendous inflammation, food sensitivities, hormone imbalance, and autoimmune thyroid issues. It often starts in a leaky gut thyroid process, and then it becomes something more complicated, like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, or Sjogren's. You don't just have Sjogren's. I can almost guarantee you that. It is possible. There are rare exceptions. You get a toxic dump, you work in a factory, it moves very quickly to a specific disease. It can happen. But most of the time, it's an insidious chronic process where you had other autoimmunities that nobody was paying attention to. And one of the reasons right now is also your gut. Nobody talks about that. And they don't have good medications to heal the gut because there aren't any.
And we have one person sharing about a burning sensation in the back of the throat and an increased sense of smell.
Okay, so that's interesting. The burning sensation could be a variety of things. It could be acid reflux. That's something that people often talk about. It could be Barrett's esophagus. That's something that people talk about. So we need a little bit more information. So a lot of you, see, you're asking great questions. You're saying, I have these symptoms and nobody's helping me. Nobody's even trying to find out what's going on. So what we are going to do, what we specialize, our uniqueness is a couple of different things. One, we love our patients. We develop the right relationships with them. We get to know them. We give them the time. And two, we're wonderful detectives. We solve the puzzle. We look for the right information. So we want to find out exactly why your throat is burning. Right now, just having a burning throat is not enough information. So even if they say it's acid reflux, oftentimes that diagnosis is incorrect. You could be having it because of too little stomach acid. Because you're eating food, we would test, are you having pancreatic enzyme issues? We would test for that. Nobody's testing you because you could eat and it could get stuck there and you could actually start to ferment and it could start to come back that way. That's different than if you have too much stomach acid and it's scalding your throat. Those are different diseases, okay? So what we need is to find out exactly what's going on with you.
Oh, and with that electric heat disease, actually, it was electric heart to talk about the low QT wave.
Okay, so there's a couple of different possible reasons for that too. So when we come to talk about the heart, if people have a chronic issue with how it's actually beating, then some people might have to be on like a beta blocker or get um, some kind of implant in there. But oftentimes when we talk about the heart, let's talk about how do we strengthen the body. Okay, so if you had to strengthen any particular organ function or something like that, is there any medication that can strengthen the heart really? No, there's not, right? Baby aspirin, blood thinners, beta blockers, but there's nothing that strengthens the actual heart muscle or regulates the heartbeat. Not really, right? So when it comes to the purview, how to strengthen the body, the Western medicine, basically the standard of care doesn't know. They punt. They say, we don't have answers for that. What do? I don't know. Eat better, exercise here, take your medications. But there are very natural treatments that you can do to help strengthen particular organs, for example, like liver function or heart function. We've worked with lots of cardiac patients, for example, that had irregular heartbeat, palpitations, even like leaky valves, and these things can sometimes be improved. We need a little bit more information. So this is why a consultation is so important, because we need to dig deeper and find out the specifics of your case. But what I want to do is clue you in that you might actually have therapies available for you that people are not telling you about, because the standard of care is basically metoprolol with a baby aspirin, and then they just check you every once in a while if you have a problem and say you're fine. Leaky gut is pretty important. I want to talk about this for a reason, because many people have a leaky gut process and they do not know about it. What it means is that stress or toxins, food particles, drugs, pathogens, or organ malfunction, it can lead to GI inflammation. It can cause porousness, which means the junctures in the intestines can start to open, and you can start to have particles get into the bloodstream. When that happens, the immune system knows. It says, oh, that doesn't belong there, and it starts to attack. Then when it attacks, it's on high alert. And what happens is it gets easily confused, and a leaky gut can start the autoimmune process. So not in every case, but in many cases of people that have, for example, like Hashimoto's, autoimmune thyroid issues, what happens is they do have a leaky gut because we just test for it, and their body's attacking itself, and it could have been prevented, and it can be reversed. So leaky gut affects the whole body. It affects the brain, depression, anxiety, ADHD. We already had some questions about brain fog. Skin issues are invariably related to the gut. Eczema, psoriasis, thyroid issues, colon, constipation, diarrhea, adrenal fatigue, joints like rheumatoid arthritis, sinus and mouth issues are often gut related. Autoimmune diseases, there's over 100 million autoimmune diseases and 50 million people with them now. What has happened with this explosion? So be very clear. Autoimmune disease means the body's attacking itself. It thinks that we are a danger to ourselves. The body is not regulated. There are no good autoimmune reversal drugs. They all give you immunosuppressants. Immunosuppressants keep the body from attacking ourselves. For example, methotrexate, Plaquenil. But what happens is higher risk of cancer, higher risk of infections, things like getting COVID in this dangerous time. So there are ways to regulate the immune system, because what happens is you get diseases like thyroiditis, Hashimoto's. 80 to 90% of all patients with the thyroid disorder, autoimmunity is your disease cause, not hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism means that thyroid's not working well. That's different than the Hashimoto's, where the body's attacking itself and destroying thyroid tissue. It's a different cause. Bones, rheumatoid arthritis, it's attacking the joints, different than osteoarthritis, which is wear and tear. Muscles, fibromyalgia, skin issues, lungs, nerves, peripheral neuropathy, where we're getting nerve damage. GI issues like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, blood issues like lupus. Nobody woke up one day with lupus all of a sudden, or, for example, Sjogren's. Sjogren's is always a progression. MS, nobody woke up one day with MS. It's always a progression. There are other disease factors that nobody's paying attention to. Nutritional deficiencies. You can just see some of these nutritional deficiencies, that's meeting the minimum USRDA, which is not even very high. So we can see that most Americans are short on a lot of their nutritional needs. So patients ask me all the time, do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? Well, how about this? Why don't we just test you? Why don't we just test you and give you what you need? Wouldn't it be nice that you had a physician who was not only testing for what you need, but they were monitoring you, they were helping you balance your life, they were giving you the accountability and the mentoring necessary to keep you at your best, instead of us having to just guess all the time. Can you relate to this? 90% of thyroid symptoms among US women are due to an autoimmune disorder. Hashimoto's and Graves are not thyroid problems. They are autoimmune problems. And they can cause you to do things like feel tired and sluggish. They can cause depression, which could also be caused from inflammation. Can cause cold hands and feet, hair loss and thinning. Hormones could also cause anxiety issues and headaches. We've had people mention all of these symptoms. Constipation, if this is your morning face, I am so sorry. We definitely need to talk to you about your consultation soon. Weight gain, it's not just how much you eat, and it's not just how much you exercise. It's also hormones, thyroid, cortisol, gut function, all of these things very important to lose weight. Loss of muscle mass. Do any of these bodies look like you, by the way? We have 4 different types of bodies. See if one of these kind of look like you. We've already had some patients ask about weight gain. So do you have a body where you're gaining weight in the lower body and also in the gut? This is the adrenal body. What that means is your adrenal function is off. Your cortisol might be off and you're putting on weight. The ovary body, where you're starting to have saddlebags and kind of that pear shape. This is where your sex hormones are off. The thyroid body, where you're putting on weight everywhere, where your whole metabolism is sluggish. Even though you're giving you thyroid hormone, you say, why don't I feel better? And why can't I lose the weight? Because they're not looking at all of the causes. They're just looking at 3 numbers, TSH, T3, and T4. The liver body, where you start to get this round pot belly, where your liver is having a hard time detoxifying and cleaning out your body the way it's supposed to. Do one of these bodies look like you? Thyroid disease and diabetes. We had some diabetes questions. We talked a little bit, but here's some more. So you can have too much or too little insulin, and it can affect the thyroid hormone production and activity. That could also affect your blood sugar levels. It can be caused by an autoimmune disease, and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis is thought to play a role. So it could lead to hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism. It could lead to type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, or metabolic syndrome. Is anybody talking to you about causes? Are they just saying diabetes, here's your metformin, hypothyroidism, oh, I don't even know if you're autoimmune, but it doesn't matter. Here's your Synthroid or your levothyroxine. Do you want someone to get to the root cause? Do you want to build a relationship with them? And do you want to get the accountability necessary so you can reclaim health independence? Those are the kinds of things that we try to do for our patients. And that's what we're going to learn, if that's appropriate for you today, when we do our consultations with you. So at this point, probably Gabrielle has already reached out to some of you. So some of you might have started to have some contact. So if you're thinking that, oh, this all makes sense, people have not been looking at the root causes, I do want to know what's going on with me, then you can start to do a consultation process now, because what will happen is at the end of the webinar, we're going to have a bit of a log jam. There's going to be a lot of people in a queue to try to sign up, because they're only free during our webinar today.
Excuse me, Dr. Jean. Just so don't want to get too far down the side without addressing this other one person's question. They're dealing with essential tremor and mentioned about antidepressants can exacerbate that, especially the tricyclics and SSRIs, and was asking which antidepressants don't fall into those 2 categories.
Okay, well, that specifically is a better question for your MD because he's monitoring your case and he knows what your specific needs are. But SSRIs can affect essential tremors. One, let's just talk about essential tremors for a second. Essential tremors means you're shaking and they don't know why. That's why they just call them essential tremors, right? And some doctors will even tell you that's normal. Is it normal? If you're 60, 70 years old and you just start shaking without Parkinson's, that is not normal, by the way. That's a sign that something's going wrong with your body. So SSRIs and those things can be a problem because they're basically affecting neurotransmitters in your brain. So there's some neurological component to essential tremors. So no matter what medication they give you, even if it lowers your tremor rate, it doesn't heal you. You have to take it for life, and you have side effects. So for example, SSRIs like Effexor or Zoloft, they can lead to things like heightened risk of dementia. So is that a good trade-off? A little bit less shaking, but you end up getting dementia or Alzheimer's. Is that the trade you want to make? Do you want to take another medication for 20 more years? How about in Chinese medicine, we have a very specific way we think about essential tremors. Essential tremors, we think about it as your vitality is low. Vitality, that's why people get it when they're older. You don't get essential tremors when you're 20, 30, 40 years old. What happens is your hormone levels go down, your adrenal function goes down, kidney function goes down, thyroid levels go down, and this lack of gas in the gas tank starts to cause the body to shake. So essential tremor is an aging symptom. It is not normal. It's a sign that your body is very depleted. And if you were to say, hey, doctor, what can I do to kind of help me replenish my gas, my reserves? The doctor would say, eat better, exercise. How's that working for you, eating better and exercise? That doesn't work. It's not going to replace hormone levels. I see a couple of other people have raised your hands. Please just go ahead and type in your questions just because I can't unmute you all. So no raising of hands, please. I'm so sorry. Just type in your questions. Dr. Beverly is monitoring this. I will get to all of them. So right now we're going through the body, but at the end, when I get to actually see the chat feature, I'll make sure I read through and get through all of them if I missed anybody.
Yeah, excuse me, Dr. Jane, getting a lot of questions regarding insurance as they are scheduling consultations.
Okay, so we have a slide about insurance coming up, but we'll talk a little bit about it then. I definitely have a slide, and I want to make sure I address that. Everybody will get that question answered. So we want to talk about, oh, okay, this is a wonderful patient. This is Michelle. She had hot flashes, and she had terrible night sweats, and people don't know that you don't need to do hormone replacement therapy for that. Hormone replacement therapy, higher risks of heart attack, stroke, and cancer, right? So there are other things that can be done, and you don't have to take hormone replacement therapy. They'll give it to you for literally decades. We worked with a wonderful patient called Michelle. Hot flashes, night sweats, completely gone. Indigestion improved. No more acid reflux meds. These are the kinds of results that we get all the time, and you don't have to wait years for this kind of stuff to improve. It happens relatively quickly. So there are natural resolutions, which means you don't have to take products from us either. I'm not going to just replace one product, for example, like hormone replacement therapy with another, and then you just take this for decades. You don't do that. We're talking about reversing your condition so you don't have to be dependent. What we like to use is we like to use this word, health independence. Wouldn't it be nice to feel empowered to know that you can take care of yourself? Insurance, okay. So let's talk about insurance. Insurance covers medications, it covers surgery, right? Insurance, it will not cover you for basic information. For example, inflammation, it won't cover to check that. Do you have good or bad gut bacteria? It won't cover to check that. Do you have leaky gut? It won't cover to check that. Inflammation has become, insurance in America has become what we call catastrophic coverage. So I want to talk a little bit about that so we can get some clarity. Dr. Beverly, do you have a car?
Yes.
All right. So in your car, you have car insurance, am I correct?
I do.
Okay. So if you get into a car accident, the insurance company is going to cover that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what about the upkeep and well-being of your car? Who takes care of that?
Oh, that's on me.
Okay, that's on you. So insurance is similar to car insurance that has become the same for medical insurance. If you get a heart attack, if you need if you break a bone, you need emergency procedures, insurance is thinking about that. Or if you need a medication, they're going to give it to you for life, like your metformin for your diabetes, insurance is thinking about that. But let me ask you, how many conditions is your insurance reversing? Anybody chime in? How many of you, is your insurance reversing your thyroid issue? Is it reversing your diabetes? Is it reversing your Sjogren's? Is it reversing any of your other conditions? It's become a catastrophic process. So what we tell patients is patients have to understand, if you want to reverse your disease, if you want to get off of the constant need for medications, then you have to accept some responsibility. You have to understand that you need to take steps to reclaim your health independence. And that's what we do for patients all day long. So, are you ready for a new approach? And what we're talking about is testing for the right causes, treatments that are natural, that reverse disease, and teaching you how to reclaim your health independence. We have a systematic step-by-step approach. Are you tired of people not having any idea? They just say, try this med, now try this med. And do you want the mentoring and accountability necessary to get the result that you need? So we also give you homework. Yes, we do, right? This is a collaboration. What that means is I want the right relationship with the right patients where we have a collaboration. We want to build a team. And that's what's required for me to reach my potential and for you to reach your potential and live the life that you want. Oh, this is Indra. Indra, she actually has lupus, and she had a lot of pain, swelling, stiffness, weakness all over. Her energy was very low, and her job was beginning to suffer, and she was really nervous about being able to actually go back to work. After working with us, her energy is incredibly improved. Her pain is gone, and she feels so much better. Her professional life is better, and her labs are better, right? So what this means is these kinds of diseases like lupus can be addressed. We've resolved lupus clinically where we could show you on labs that the lupus markers are gone. And you don't have to sit there and constantly take for the next 50 years of your life methotrexate and Plaquenil. Lupus, Sjogren's, these are literally diseases that could kill you. They are, right? So when they're putting you on these immunosuppressants, they're trying to buy you time. That's not bad. Sometimes when you need them, by the way. But what we want to talk about is how can we help your body heal? Healing. Does anybody ever talk about that? Dr. Beverly, when's the last time you were at your MDs and they talked to you about healing? Do they ever even use that word? Never even use that word. Okay, but that's something we want to talk to each and every one of you about. So as we're starting to go through the the consultation process now, we're getting towards the end and there's going to be a bit of a bottleneck. So let's go ahead and start as Gabriella is reaching out to you to start to do the consultation process. I'm going to give you a little bit more clarity on the kind of patient that we're looking for because we hand select each of our patients and we really only accept about 5 to 7 new patients a week. We're just really busy, honestly, and we have 4 doctors. We just can't take that much extra load. But we do believe that everybody out there deserves a chance to see if they qualify for care. So that's what we're offering you today. There's 4 stressors that influence health. There's physical stressors, chemical stressors, emotional stressors, and immune stressors. And what we want to do is test appropriately to find out exactly what's going on. All your thyroid labs, all your iron labs, your cortisol labs, your hormone labs, your nutritional content, and everything else that could be bothering you. Because right now, all of you out there, you don't know why you're sick. If you did, you wouldn't be on this webinar. You're saying, I'm not well. Nobody can tell me why, but nobody's even talking to me about testing me for why. They're just telling me that I'm doing okay and my labs are normal. Adrenal testing. So if your cortisol is off, it should be high in the morning and goes low throughout the day. This is your adrenal stress hormone. If it's low in the morning, you might have a difficult time getting out of bed. You're really tired. If it's low around 3 or 4 o'clock, it could be the reason why you feel a lot of fatigue in the afternoon. If it's high at night, it could be the reason why you can't go to sleep. Is anybody charting your cortisol? We chart it all throughout the day. We can tell you when to do relaxation. We can diagnose why you're having difficulties. We can actually tell you when to exercise according to your cortisol profile. So what we do is we use diagnostic testing to identify causes from the 5 core pillars of health. We administer corrective medicine that effectively unlocks healing, and we optimize progress with your health curriculum and health coaching. With this, we want you to feel empowered. Hey, that's me. So this is a picture of me with my lovely wife, Serena, and this is my daughter, Alina. She was 1 year old at the time. She's 3 now. This is her first Halloween. We all went together as a pumpkin patch. So I wanted to show you one more picture. I'm going to stop the share just because I don't really love to look at myself but blown up that big and orange. But I want to quickly tell you one more story because I told you I would tell you two. And I think that this story is kind of instructive. It'll be useful for you. So when I told you earlier that I was living in South Korea, I was doing this meditation retreat. I realized that I didn't want to become a monk for the right reasons. I was trying to run away from suffering. And I also realized that what we needed was a team. A team is what's necessary to help us reach our potential. What I didn't tell you was at the time I was dating that lovely lady. Her name is Serena. So I was dating her already for about 4 years when I had that big realization. And when I first met her, I told her, it's like, I don't want you to get too fond of me because I'm really seriously thinking about becoming a monk. And she thought that was the most unique pickup line she'd ever heard. But I have to say, I'm just not that creative to come up with that kind of pickup line. So that wasn't it at all. It was a real serious concern of mine. But we ended up dating for about 4 years, and she's a lovely person, and she waited a long time. But finally, she just got tired of it. And she said, I just can't wait anymore. And she called me just 2 days after this big realization when I realized I didn't want to become a monk. And it actually broke my heart because when I wanted to assemble a team, part of my team was her. I wanted to find the right people in my life to help me be my best. So I went through this long process. I left the temple right away. I went through this long process of trying to win back her trust, to let her know that I was serious, that I really understood what my purpose in life was now. And we ended up getting together and having a family. But the reason why I bring this up, because I got back with her because I realized at that time that I was going through what I call a crossroads moment. And this is very important, and I want to explain what that means. I knew it at the time. I knew that my life was invariably going to change one way or the other, depending upon the decision I made. I was going to assemble my team, I was going to fulfill my purpose, or I was going to just give up and stay in the temple and just exclude myself from life. And that's what I think that everybody's experiencing today. Not that you want to become monks, but what you want to do is you want to feel that you're making the right decision at this crossroads moment, this time where you have to take your health into your hands and you have to make a step. You have the choice of trying to do something natural that reverses your disease or doing the same thing over and over and just getting more and more sick. Okay? So I want you to take a second. Let's take a second here and let's imagine. Let's see when you step out your house after you've been working on your health and you're really starting to feel well, your energy's back, your pain's going down, you've lost weight, and you can see the surprised look on your neighbor's face as he looks at you, and you can hear the surprise in his voice when he says, wow, what have you been doing? You look great. And you can feel that pride in your chest when you know that you've taken the right steps, that you chose the right path to reclaim your health at this crossroads moment that you are at right now in your health. So I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. How would life be if I were able to turn on my brain again, have more energy, correct my health issues? How has my life been affected? My relationships? Are you able to show up and be there for the people that you love? Isn't that what life is about? How about your ability to work or your ability to enjoy life? So many of us, I just see that we're just getting by. We're not thriving. We're not enjoying life. We're just basically holding on. Is that the life that you're willing to settle for? Or do you want more? Do you deserve more in this life? On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated am I to really take care of my problem? I want to make this one a little bit simpler. I ask this question to every patient. I want you all to remember this, because when we do our consultations, you'll do them with me or Dr. Beverly, whom you've met right now. I ask every patient, I say, I want you to give yourself a grade. Are you an A, B, or C student? So let me tell you what that means. An A student is actually kind of rare. An A student is very highly motivated, big self-starter. They still need the right testing, the right treatments, the right teaching to get to their healthcare goal, but they succeed often pretty easily. Most patients are B students. B students mean that in their heart, they very much sincerely, they want to get better and they know that they're willing to do what's required. They want the right testing. They want the right treatments. They want the right teaching, and they do get a good result. What we are not looking for and what we can't accept are C students. So C students are basically, I'm just going to be very honest, C students are procrastinators. They're basically holding on to this magical thinking that one day their problems are just going to get all better by themselves. Does that happen? Do we get a chronic disease after the age of 40 and then one day it just suddenly goes away? The answer to that is no. It always gets worse. So when we talk to you on the consultation, we're going to ask you, and you let us know, are you an A, a B, or a C student, okay? So you have two choices here. You can get help, which is support with advice, or you can not get help. You can choose to remain just like this cat on the couch, basically enduring life and not getting everything that you want out of life. So the first step is to take towards your health is to do this. We want to start with a complete wellness evaluation. Okay, so before I talk a little bit more specifically about the consult, I want to give a little bit of qualifications here and tell you a little bit about kind of what kind of patient we're looking for. So not everybody actually qualifies for a consult with our clinic. Let me kind of tell you 3 conditions that we need you to satisfy, okay? So we want a patient that actually ranks their health as their #1 priority. Okay, it's got to be important to you. Also, we want you to show up with a spouse or support person when we talk to you on the phone. For this kind of process, we have a telemedicine process. We talk with patients all over the state, actually all over the country, and we can do tremendous things these days, especially if it's internal medicine. But we need you to show up with a support person or a spouse just so you feel supported and that you can make all your decisions together. And also we need a person that believes that they're worth investing in. If you do qualify for those 3 conditions, then you're probably the kind of person that we want to work with. So we hand select every patient that we work with, and we only accept about 5 to 7 patients per week. But we do believe that every patient is deserving of an option to see if they can qualify. So we do give you that option today. So we'll give you a consultation and a wellness evaluation, a plan of action. Normally we would charge $287 for that if we weren't doing a webinar. And what we're doing because of the webinar is no cost for you today, for you or your spouse, if your spouse comes on and has questions about their health. Okay? So once we do start to talk to you, and we're going through the consultation process now, we're only accepting and we're only going through consultations till the end of this webinar, and we are almost to the end. So we're having probably a little bit of a log jam if people are trying to get into their consultation now. So it will be free, but only to the end of the webinar. After that portion, we just have to charge because we just actually don't have that many slots. And I want to tell you a little bit about the kinds of patients that we work with. We work with all kinds. We work with single moms. We work with retirees on fixed income. So patients ask us all the time, okay, I understand we're doing a consultation. You got to find out what's going on with me. I'm like, yep. Then you got to find out, do some testing. Tell me what's going on with me. And I say, yep. And then they say, so what's going to cost after? And I tell them all the time, well, it ranges, right? We could have a patient that has very few issues. For example, they just have a little bit of inflammation. It's just a couple $100 process. And then we can have a patient that's very sick, 5 autoimmunities and dying from cancer. And that could be a $10,000 process, right? It's a big range. That's why we start off with a consultation process so we can find out exactly what's going on with you, determine what is the cause, and then we will have enough information to give you a precise plan of action. Not everybody qualifies for care with us, but everybody qualifies for a chance to see if they are the right kind of patient for us to work with. because what we're talking about is we need A and B patients, not C patients, and those patients that want to reverse their condition naturally and not continue to hold on to the band-aids that were currently being offered. High cost of doing nothing. C patient is already in the too late category. So I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to start to look to see if there's actually more questions in the chat that I haven't gotten to. Beverly, are there any more questions I need to get to?
Yeah, we had one person talk about having H. pylori and Candida.
Very good. So H. pylori, right? Bacteria in the gut. It could cause gastrointestinal inflammation. It could cause ulcers. It could cause stomach cancer, right? What's a typical standard of care treatment? Very, very strong antibiotics. Sometimes those antibiotics can go on for months. I've had patients specifically come to me after they've had H. pylori antibiotic treatment and their gut was wrecked. They had a terrible leaky gut process. They had terrible indigestion. They weren't able to do anything and they had terrible gas and bloating and a lot of weight gain. So yes, one, you can test for H. pylori. We test for it routinely in a stool test. And two, you can kill it naturally. How do we know? You retest. You retest and see if you got it and you didn't have to do all of these crazy antibiotics. How about also Candida? What does it do? So Candida and yeast, these kinds of things, they feed off carbs and sugars. So most people just say, don't eat carbs, don't eat sugars. And what happens is you starve the Candida and you just crave sugar even more because nothing wants to die. It's just saying, feed me, feed me, feed me. So what you need to do is not just change the diet, you need to also kill it. How do you kill it? How do you even know if you have it? One, we test for it. And two, you kill it naturally. You can retest to make sure it was all gone. But Candida often grows when you have not enough good gut bacteria. Good and bad bacteria, they compete. So you want to kill the bad, you want more of the good, and you want to make sure you don't have leaky gut. So these things are very common that we test for all the time. What's the solution for Candida in Western medicine? Literally nothing. Or they give you an antifungal. You know what that antifungal medication does to your liver? When it says very carefully, don't drink with it, they mean it on the antifungal because you could literally get cirrhosis or liver cancer if you're drinking and taking that antifungal. It's very dangerous. It's very, very hard for the body to process. So there are lots of wonderful natural options and we get rid of that stuff all the time. So those are very, very good questions. So I see that we're having a lot of really good questions out there for some wonderful prospective patients. And we're all going to take the time to get to know you, each and every one of you, and we're going to see which one of you qualifies to be the appropriate kind of patient for care. And we're going to offer you natural solutions for all of that. Dr. Beverly, have you seen any other questions that I've missed?
Well, if you could go into a little more detail on actually the consultation process.
Okay, sure. I can talk about that. So a consultation is where we're finding out more about your health history, right? So some people are saying I have H. pylori, I have Candida, or I have a thyroid issue. So let's say you have a thyroid issue. Say, great, all right, tell me a little bit about it. How long have you had it? Are you on medications? Do you also have other issues with it? For example, the thyroid, it's also affected by gut issues. Do you have gut symptoms? It's also affected by liver detox issues. It's also affected by hormones. It's also affected by adrenal health. Are you having things like fatigue? Are you menopausal? All of these are part of the puzzle. So we need to find out, one, what's your problem? Why are you having it? And then we can determine what is right testing for us to find out what exactly is your cause, right? So we need to dig in. So what we're trying to tell you specifically, one of our uniquenesses that I can say that I'm very proud of is that we do the hard work. We find out why. We call ourselves root healing for a reason. We want to get to the root. We want to find out the cause. We dig in. And we don't just do a 5-minute talk where we say, okay, here, you're going to take this thing. It's going to fix all your problems, because that doesn't work. If that had worked, you would already not been on this call. So we're unique in that we really look, we do the hard work. And then we're also unique because we set up a relationship, a collaboration with the patient so they can have accountability and follow through. Isn't that what health is supposed to be like, or healthcare is supposed to be like? What would it be like if all of our doctors took the time to really get to know us, to find out what was really going on, to do the hard work, to dig deep, and then to work with us, not just giving us stuff, but also working with our lifestyle and also giving us accountability and helping us improve along the way. And then celebrating our wins as you start to reduce, get off medications, lose weight, feel more energy. How much would that experience differ than what you're experiencing right now? It's amazing how different it could be. I'll tell you one story that I like to highlight is that I remember there was a lovely patient. He had diabetes. Someone talked about diabetes earlier. I like to mention this patient for a reason. He was going to his endocrinologist, and he had been on 3 diabetes medications, glucose over 200. They couldn't figure out why. He comes to see us, unregulated diabetes, taking 3 medications. So we work with him. His medications are all off, no diabetes medications. His blood sugar is down to 4.8, I think. So he's completely reversed. And you know what his doctor says to him? His doctor, his endocrinologist, has been in the field 24 years. He's seen tens of thousands of patients, and he was so surprised. He told this gentleman, he said, "You are only the 4th patient that I've ever seen get off their medications." Oh my God. 24 years, tens of thousands of patients, and only the 4th patient that's gotten off medications. What kind of success rate is that? Is that something to be proud of? Those kinds of processes where we're just getting band-aids for medications, that's not what we're trying to do for you. That is not the process you can expect for us. I'm not saying all meds are bad. Some patients need to be on meds. Meds are supposed to be used when they're supposed to be used. They're not supposed to be over relied upon. Okay? So what we're talking to you about is finding out what's wrong with you. That's the first step. That's why we do a consultation. And then what we try to talk about is what is the path to true healing? And then we try to also teach you and give you accountability to get those answers. Okay? So what we're doing right now is I see lots of people are actually signing up for consultation. So we're having a very busy week this week, I see. So what we're doing is we're going through the consultation process now. So I'm going to go ahead because I have patients. I have to step off of this webinar right now. Dr. Beverly's going to stay on and Gabriella's staying on. And we see them going through and working through the consultation process now. They're not going to get off. They're going to stay on because I promised you that everybody does qualify for a chance to see if they can be a good fit for us. So we will give you a consultation opportunity as long as you're booking that consultation while they're doing it with you now. Okay, so they'll stay on with you. And both Dr. Beverly and myself are going to be talking to you very soon when we do the consultations. I'm going to step off with patients. Dr. Beverly's going to stay for a while. So thank you very much. I hope you all got your questions answered, and I look forward very much to working with you very soon. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Okay, we got a question here about should you guys stay on if you have go on ahead and schedule your consultation. You are free to go. Gabriella and I are just finishing up with those people who are looking to get a consultation in. And hope y'all found the information very informative. You'll find we love to educate people, definitely. And so thanks y'all for attending. Okay, again, everybody, thanks for joining us. It looks like we're just about ready to wrap up here. If you've not had a chance to book a consultation, now is the time. We will be signing off in about 2 to 3 minutes. Thanks again for joining.